I used to love New Year's Eve. Even when I was a kid, something about that final night of the year felt like it held magic. Possibility. A clean slate. When I met her, when we started sharing those countdowns together, that feeling only grew. It wasn't about the ball drop or the champagne. It was the way she used to look at me at midnight, like I was her entire future wrapped into one moment. Like whatever came next, she wanted me there. This year, though, she didn't want to go out. No parties. No dressing up. Just a quiet night in, she said. I thought it was sweet at first. I figured maybe she was tired from work or just didn't want to deal with crowds. She curled up on the couch in one of my old college hoodies and said she wanted something cozy. Something just us. I didn't argue. I ordered from the Thai place she always raved about, lit the candles from our anniversary that still had a faint vanilla scent, even queued up that playlist we made together one night in bed, songs we used to slow dance to in the kitchen. She smiled when I did all that, said I was too good to her. I remember thinking how beautiful she looked in that moment, barefoot, soft lighting on her face, her hands wrapped around a mug like she was trying to warm something more than just her fingers. I didn't know then that she had already left. We talked for a while, surface-level stuff. I asked about her latest freelance client. She said it was complicated. I mentioned the lake house, maybe planning a trip. She nodded, but her eyes didn't light up like they used to. Her phone buzzed more than once, but she never looked at it in front of me. Just flipped it face down on the armrest like it didn't matter. But it did. I could feel it. Around 11:30, I stepped outside onto the back porch. Needed air. The night was warmer than usual for December, but the wind had bite. It was one of those still nights where you can hear the faint pop of fireworks from other neighborhoods. I leaned on the railing and stared out into the dark, trying not to let my mind spiral like it had been lately. And then I heard her voice, muffled at first. I assumed she was on the phone, probably her sister or one of her friends. But then I heard her laugh. Not the forced, polite kind she gave coworkers or acquaintances. This was different, familiar in a way that made my stomach tighten. She said something like, "No, he's still outside," and then laughed again, lower this time. That laugh used to be mine. I moved a step closer to the door, careful not to let the wood creak under my feet. The sliding glass door was cracked an inch. Just enough. Her tone shifted. It became softer. Not in a comforting way. In a whispered way. Like something said in the dark, meant only for someone who shouldn't be listening. I stood there, frozen. I didn't want to be the kind of husband who eavesdrops. I never thought I'd be that guy. But something in me told me not to move. To listen. She was talking low and fast now, as if she was trying to squeeze something in. "We have a problem," she said. That line hit me harder than I expected. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. It wasn't a message from her to me. It was from her, yes. But the notification preview clearly wasn't part of our thread. I don't know why I even looked, but something about the timing, it felt too exact. The message read, "We have a problem." Same words, same tone, but now in writing. She didn't know I was out there. Didn't know I'd been standing there for 10 minutes, unmoving, hearing the int asterisk Macy in her voice like an echo of everything we used to be. She didn't know I had just watched her make that problem worse in real time. When I finally walked back in, I did it quietly. She turned fast, startled, but masked it with a smile that felt a beat too late. "You okay?" she asked, tucking her phone quickly beneath a throw pillow. "You were out there for a while." "Yeah," I said, "just watching the neighbors with their sparklers." "Cute," she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I used to love doing that as a kid." I nodded, walked toward the table and sat. She followed. There was a pause, just long enough for me to ask, "Who were you talking to?" I kept my voice even, casual, like I wasn't suspicious, like I hadn't heard everything. She blinked once, then smiled, small and practiced. "Oh, that? Just Steph. She's going through a divorce, remember? It's been messy. She's freaking out about some lawyer stuff." She sipped her wine. Didn't meet my eyes. "That message?" I asked, holding up my phone like I didn't know better. It sounded serious. She barely glanced. Ugh. Yeah, sorry, that wasn't meant for you. I meant to forward it to her, something she said earlier. Just a mix-up. Right? Just a mix-up. She smiled again, wider this time. But enough about that. Midnight's coming. Should we toast early or wait? I nodded, and I still sat at the table. We poured another round of wine. We counted down from 10. We kissed. A long, quiet kiss that felt hollow. And then we went back to pretending nothing had happened. Except I wasn't pretending anymore. Something had cracked open inside me. Something quiet but irreversible. The rest of the night passed like a dream I couldn't wake from. She laughed at my jokes, leaned her head on my shoulder, told me she was happy we stayed in. I smiled back, played my part, but I watched her phone stay hidden under the pillow, untouched, the entire night. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like her husband. I felt like a stranger sitting across from someone I used to know. The next morning, the house smelled like jasmine and cinnamon. One of those candles she liked, burning quietly on the kitchen counter. The table was set for breakfast. Pancakes, sliced fruit, even a little folded napkin beside my coffee mug. It was like the night before never happened. She kissed my cheek and said, "Happy New Year, babe." Like we'd made some beautiful memory instead of faking one. Like she hadn't sent a message to someone else saying, "We have a problem." Like I hadn't been outside in the dark, listening to her voice grow warmer and more secretive with each word. I smiled back, ate the pancakes, said thank you, because if she was going to pretend, then so was I. But that morning was the last time I believed the lie I was telling myself. That maybe I was imagining it. That maybe it really was about her friend. That maybe, just maybe, I was paranoid. Because after that morning, things started to click. Or maybe they started to unravel. Small things at first. She'd hated winter for as long as I'd known her. Every year she complained about the cold, the static, the dry air. She used to beg me to move somewhere warmer. But suddenly, in December, she loved it. Claimed she needed the cold air to clear her mind. Started jogging in the mornings, early. Earlier than I ever remembered her waking up on her own. At first I was impressed. But then I noticed. She never came back flushed or winded. Her ponytail always looked freshly tied. Her mascara still perfect. Her lipstick not even smudged. No sweat. No chill. Just bright cheeks and a new glow that didn't match the season. She kept her phone closer too. Used to leave it charging in the kitchen overnight. Now it came to the bedroom. Then the bathroom. Then it was always in her hand or face down on the couch beside her. Notifications stopped lighting the screen. She changed her lock code, saying work needed her to for security. That was when I started writing things down. Not like a crazy person, I told myself, but just to keep track. Times, changes, things that felt off. I told myself it was to ease my mind. But each note just led to another. One night, I was washing dishes and found a pair of glasses on the counter. Wire-framed. Definitely not mine. I don't wear glasses. She doesn't either, only sometimes for blue light. But these weren't hers. I knew it. I held them up. She walked by, froze for half a second, then laughed. Said they must have belonged to the contractor who came by last week. He must have left them, she said, too fast. I nodded. But the contractor had only been here for 10 minutes. And we never called him back to return the glasses. A few days later, I noticed a new playlist on her Spotify account. It was public, titled Escape. Curious, I played it while she was out. Every song was a confession. Ballads about running away, about guilt, about secrets. Songs we never listened to together. Songs that didn't sound like her, at least not the version of her I thought I knew. The lyrics played like a letter to someone else. Not me. I didn't say anything. That week, she started wearing different makeup. Darker shades. Lipstick colors I'd never seen her wear before. One night, we were going to dinner with my parents, and she came out wearing a short leather jacket, heeled boots, bold eyeliner. She looked incredible, but it didn't feel like she was dressing for me. I said, "You look great." She smiled and said, "Thanks." Just felt like trying something different. After dinner, when we got home, I asked if she wanted to watch a movie. She said she was tired and went upstairs early. I stayed downstairs, flipping through channels I wasn't really watching. Around midnight, her phone lit up on the couch. She must have forgotten it. The preview was brief. A name, Josh. I stared at it. I had never heard that name before. Not once. When she came back downstairs for her charger, I asked casually, "Who's Josh?" She didn't even blink. "New designer. Freelance. He's helping with one of the side projects." I nodded, but I remembered something she'd said just last week. That they weren't hiring anyone else, even freelancers. Said the budget was too tight. Another inconsistency. Another note in the back of my notebook. I started paying more attention to timing. Her errands got longer. Her responses got shorter. Sometimes she'd say she was at the store, but the receipts she brought home were from gas stations or coffee shops across town. I tested little things. Left the toothpaste cap off. Put a photo frame slightly tilted. Hid one of her gloves. She didn't notice. Didn't comment. Because she wasn't focused here. She was somewhere else. Or with someone else. It's a strange thing, watching the person you love become unfamiliar. Like a mirror shifting angles. Same reflection, different light. The features are the same, but something's changed behind the eyes. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. Instead, I kept observing. Like a scientist watching a pattern unfold. There was a moment that broke something in me, though. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even intentional. We were sitting on the couch, her feet in my lap, a glass of wine in her hand. The movie was playing, something forgettable. She was scrolling through her phone, smiling faintly, at something I couldn't see. She didn't notice when I looked at her. Really looked at her. That smile wasn't for me. It hadn't been for a long time. Later that night, when she was asleep, I got up and walked around the house. Felt like walking through someone else's life. The framed wedding photo on the wall. The mugs we bought on our honeymoon. The coat she wore on our first Christmas together. Now draped over a chair like it meant nothing. I opened her laptop. She'd left it on. Her email was open too, just a newsletter. Nothing suspicious. But it wasn't the content that got me. It was the user profile name in the corner. Her first name and the last name, Reed. That wasn't her last name. Not legally. Not mine either. I clicked on the account details. It was a second email. Private one. One I didn't know existed. One I suddenly realized had been used to sign into apps on her phone. Ones I'd never noticed before. Messaging apps. Ones with disappearing chats. Private threads. Password locks. I didn't break in. I didn't try. Not yet. Because in that moment, I realized something. She had created a second life. And I was no longer the person she reported to. I was just part of the scenery. Cover. The man who made pancakes on New Year's Day, while she texted someone else. We have a problem. I went back to bed. Laid beside her. Watched her breathe. And wondered when she had stopped being mine. She told me she had a business dinner. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was making coffee when she mentioned it. Casually, like she was telling me the weather. Some new client wants to go over design concepts, she said, not looking up from her phone. It's one of those late dinners. I'll probably Uber. I nodded. Anyone I know? No, it's mostly new people. And Josh. He'll be there. Josh, of course. I just smiled. Said, have fun. Inside, I felt hollow. She didn't invite me. Didn't say I could come. Just assumed I'd stay behind like always. But I already knew where she'd be. A month earlier, my company had signed a contract to upgrade the sound systems at a downtown hotel. I'd been there a dozen times overseeing installs, testing equipment, mapping acoustics. I knew the layout. I still had a spare staff keycard. And I knew something else. She'd saved the invite to the dinner in her calendar, public calendar, the one she forgot I still had access to. So that night, when she curled her hair and slipped on a red dress I hadn't seen before, I watched her from the hallway. Her back to me, adjusting the thin gold strap on her shoulder, humming lightly. You look nice, I said. She turned, lips parting in a smile. Thanks. I feel like dressing up. For once. "Is this a fancy place?" She shrugged. "Kind of. Josh said the client likes upscale vibes." She kissed my cheek. "Don't wait up." I didn't. I waited 15 minutes, then grabbed my coat and left. The city was alive that night. Lights reflected off wet pavement, and couples walked arm in arm past restaurants filled with laughter and glass clinking. I drove downtown, parked a block away, and slipped into the hotel through the side staff entrance. My badge still worked. I kept my head down, moved through back corridors, and emerged behind the ballroom stage curtains. The room was glowing. Golden lights strung from the ceiling, crystal glasses, waiters weaving between tables with trays of wine and tiny food you needed a fork for. And there she was, center of the room, near the bar. Red dress, gold earrings, hair curled perfectly over one shoulder. She was standing close to a man I had never seen in person, but I knew him the second I saw him. Josh. He was younger than me, or maybe not younger, just smoother. Sharp jaw, tailored suit, the kind of guy who wore confidence like cologne. His hand was on her waist. Her hand rested lightly on his chest as she leaned in and whispered something that made him smile. Then she laughed, real laughter, loud, the kind that used to be mine. She didn't see me at first. I stayed hidden behind a draped column near the back, just watching. Then, after a minute, she turned, maybe instinct, maybe chance, and our eyes met. She didn't flinch. She didn't look guilty. She just blinked once, tilted her head slightly, and then turned back to Josh like I was no more interesting than a shadow on the wall. Later, when the music started, I watched them dance. Slow, confident, like they'd done it before. She swayed easily in his arms, smiled as he leaned in close, and when he spun her, she beamed. Her hand lingered a little too long on his chest when she returned to him. I watched every second. I didn't make a scene. I didn't march in and demand answers. I just stood there, silent, still, taking it all in. I don't know how long I stayed. Time moved strangely, but I remember the moment that ended it for me. She was talking to someone, another woman in a black dress. Her coworker, maybe. I heard her laugh again, then say, "My husband? Oh, he hates people. Probably watching a documentary about space right now." More laughter. That's when I realized I wasn't part of her life anymore. Not really. I was a character, a background story, something safe she used to explain away her absence. A shield for her double life. And she didn't even hesitate to use me like that. I left the way I came in, quietly through back corridors, through the alley that smelled like cigarettes and old rain. In the car, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, hands on the wheel, breathing. The thing about heartbreak is, it doesn't feel like a crack. It feels like erosion. Slow, relentless. And by the time you realize what's been lost, you're standing on ground that no longer holds you. That night, I didn't go home right away. I drove around the city, empty streets unfolding like a dream. At one point, I pulled into a gas station and just sat there with the engine off, staring at the flickering fluorescent lights. I thought about our wedding, our first apartment, the night we built furniture at 2 a.m. and ended up on the floor laughing, covered in sawdust. And now, she was wrapped up in another man's arms, laughing like I never existed. When I got home, the house was dark. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat on the edge of the bed and listened to the silence. She came home an hour later. I heard the front door open, the creak of her heels on the floor, the fridge door opening, a glass clinking against the counter, then soft footsteps down the hall. The bedroom door opened. She stood in the doorway, framed by the dim hall light. "Hey," she said. "You're still up." Couldn't sleep. She walked in, kicked off her shoes. Dinner ran late. Josh had to stay to go over some things with the client. I nodded. "Sounds productive." She paused. "Are you okay?" I looked at her. "Yeah, just tired." She leaned over, kissed my forehead. "Get some sleep." Then she went into the bathroom, humming that same tune from earlier. I laid back, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The next day, she left early for meetings. I stayed home and started collecting evidence. I didn't say anything. Not that day. Not the next. Not even when she smiled at me over coffee, humming some song from that hotel night. Not even when she told me Josh was actually married. As if that made everything disappear, because I wasn't asking questions anymore. I was preparing for answers. Quietly. Surgically. The next morning, she left early again. Claimed she had a team meeting on site. I watched her from the upstairs window as she pulled out of the driveway, one hand on the steering wheel, the other flipping through her playlist. I waited 10 minutes. Then I got to work. I pulled out the hard drive I'd stashed under the stairs, plugged it into my laptop. I downloaded everything: security footage from the front door cam, smart lock logs, cloud backups from the motion sensor at the side gate. I went back weeks, months, and there he was, Josh, with his perfect haircut and smug grin, carrying wine, Thai food, flowers, once even a book of poetry. He used the side gate every time, slid in without tripping the main camera. Clever, but not clever enough. The side cam caught him, every time, and I had timestamps. His car showed up before her yoga nights, before her late work sessions. He was there when she texted me, "Sorry, I'm exhausted. Rain check tonight?" And then lit candles on our dining table, the same ones I'd bought her for our 3rd anniversary. He stayed late. Some nights he left around midnight. Other times, not at all. I pulled up the smart lock app, checked the door activity. Midnights, 2 a.m., 6:47 a.m. Unlocked by her phone. Locked again minutes later. And always, followed by a sweet message to me the next morning. "Hope your meeting goes well today. Love you." I took *TS. Saved them to the folder labeled simply Jan Plus. I copied her texts from our shared iCloud account. Her schedule, the overlaps, the gaps. Every thread that didn't quite line up suddenly snapped into focus. And still, I didn't confront her. I smiled. I kissed her cheek. I nodded when she asked if I wanted anything from the store. And I went back to work behind the scenes. Because here's the thing most people don't tell you. The truth doesn't hurt the most. It's the pretending. The way you find yourself playing along, day after day, while everything behind the curtain is rotting. It's the silent unraveling. The slow realization that you're not just being lied to. You're being replaced. I met with a lawyer. Quiet office. Clean suit. Direct eyes. I laid it all out. Every *T, timestamp, photo, and message. He asked one question. "Do you want to blow it up? Or do you want to win?" I said, "Both." He smiled. "Then we go quiet." He walked me through the plan. Every account, every asset, every document. And the beautiful thing? Everything was already in my name. The house, the business, the savings, the lake cabin. Even her car was still under my registration. Why? Because she used to say she hated paperwork. Trusted me to handle it. She had no idea how much she'd given me, just by being lazy. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked late. Not really at the office, but on the exit plan. I updated passwords, moved funds, shifted titles. I signed what needed signing, disconnected what needed disconnecting. I restructured the business to separate her share on paper, moved the profitable segments into a holding entity she didn't know existed. Meanwhile, she baked banana bread, played cozy, left little notes saying, "You've been working so hard lately. Proud of you." And I smiled, said, "Thanks, babe." I even started cooking dinner again. Made her favorite creamy garlic pasta with roasted tomatoes. We laughed, watched reruns of shows we'd already memorized. She nestled close, her head on my shoulder. But it was all for show. Hers. And mine. She thought she was rebuilding control. But I had already left her. I was just waiting for the dust to settle. One night, after she went to bed, I packed a go bag. Nothing dramatic. Just essentials. The important things. Old family photos. My dad's pocket knife. A letter she wrote me once when we were still in love. The one I used to keep in my wallet. I kept it. Not because I believed in it anymore, but because it reminded me I hadn't imagined the good parts. I added a burner phone, passport, flash drive. I locked it in the trunk. Then I wiped my prints from the keyboard. Put everything back where it had been. I was careful, because the next move had to be perfect. I didn't want revenge. I wanted closure. On my terms. The next few days she seemed lighter. Maybe she sensed the tension fading. Thought I'd finally moved past it. Whatever it was she thought I might have suspected, she started dressing more like the old her. Casual. Comfortable. Wore the hoodie she'd stolen from me in college. Played my favorite records in the background while she cooked. She left her phone on the kitchen counter again. I noticed, but I didn't trust it. One afternoon, I saw her sitting on the porch, flipping through our wedding album. She wiped a tear from her cheek when she thought I wasn't looking. And for a moment I wondered, had she changed her mind? Had she realized what she was risking? But then, that same night, I got a notification from the door cam. Josh, again. He came through the side gate. Wine bottle in one hand. Gift bag in the other. She opened the door wearing one of my old hoodies. No pants, long socks. That cozy smirk she used to give me on Sundays. She pulled him inside. 10 minutes later, her message popped up on my phone. Miss you tonight. Making that soup you love tomorrow. I stared at the screen. Did she think I was blind? Did she think I was weak? I poured a drink. Sat on the couch. Watched them through the cam feed. No audio. Just motion, body language, proximity. She looked happy. That was the worst part. The next morning, she left early again. Said she had a consulting call. Kissed my cheek. Wore perfume I hadn't smelled in months. I didn't say a word. That afternoon, the last papers were signed. Every document, every account, every last string tying us together. I called the server. Gave them the time, the address. The envelope. That night, she came home buzzing. Told me she had a surprise for me. She'd made dinner. Candles lit. Soft music playing. Her eyes shining with this look I hadn't seen in years. But I already knew what was coming. Because at 12:06 p.m., she was served. At work. In front of her team. The envelope handed gently, with a nod and a "you've been served." Just like that. She hadn't texted me since. And she didn't come home. Instead, the porch cam caught her laughing outside Josh's apartment. She was holding takeout, no shoes, wearing that red dress again. She kissed him in the doorway, and just like that, it was done. No fights, no confessions, just silence. After she was served, she disappeared for 2 days. No calls, no texts, not even a half-hearted excuse or fake denial. I watched her location on the shared car app, downtown, then near the park, then nothing. I knew where she'd gone. Josh's place. The porch cam caught her slipping away that night in a rush. Hair down, no coat, wine in hand. She never looked back. Not once. And I waited, because I knew she'd come back. She always came back when things slipped out of her hands. It started on a Wednesday. She walked through the door with grocery bags and a nervous smile. Like nothing had happened. Like we were still husband and wife. And last week hadn't been the final nail in something we both stopped fixing long ago. Got your favorite, she said. Lifting out a box of lemon tea I hadn't bought in over a year. Figured it'd help with those headaches. I nodded, watching her from across the kitchen like she was some stranger borrowing my house. She made stir-fry. Left a bottle of wine on the table, already opened. You can sit, she said. I'm just finishing the sauce. It was surreal, watching her move around like the last 2 months hadn't happened. Like the emails, the texts, the hotel, the camera footage. None of it was real. But the shift wasn't random. It was survival. She'd felt the ground move beneath her. The mask cracked. The safety net she'd built, with me, with Josh, was fraying fast. And when people like her feel a loss of control, they don't come clean. They rebrand. The next few days were eerie. She started waking up early again. Made coffee before I could. Folded laundry. Played soft jazz in the mornings like she used to when things were good. And she smiled at me constantly. Tight, rehearsed smiles like she was auditioning for the role of loving wife. She even wore my favorite hoodie again. The faded one with the hole in the sleeve. She used to steal it when we first moved in together, said it smelled like home. Now it hung off her like a costume. I didn't buy it. I just watched. Because the shift wasn't about me. It was about her losing grip on the version of herself she'd worked so hard to curate. First for me, then for him. She started cooking meals again. Ones she hadn't made in years. Chicken piccata. Her mother's lentil soup. She even made pancakes from scratch on Sunday and left a sticky note on the fridge that said, "Still your biggest fan." So, she never used to sign notes like that. Her phone suddenly stayed face up. Notifications visible. Harmless. I tested it. Mentioned Josh casually. Said something like, "Wasn't he supposed to send you mock-ups for that freelance thing?" She blinked. "Oh, we're not working together anymore. Project fell through." That was her story now. Josh? A non-event. Barely worth mentioning. Just a blip. An idea that didn't pan out. She started suggesting wee things again. "Maybe we should go up to the lake house next weekend," she said one night, pouring wine into 2 glasses. "We haven't been in so long." I tilted my head. "You always said it was too cold this time of year." She shrugged. "I don't mind the cold anymore." Right? That's what Josh was for, wasn't it? I played along, smiled, sipped wine, said the lake sounded great. But inside, I knew exactly what this was. She'd felt the drop, the shift. She knew I wasn't checking in anymore. I wasn't looking for explanations. I wasn't accusing or pleading or reacting. And that scared her more than anything. Because people like her don't need love. They need control. They don't miss you. They miss being the center of your attention. She thought she could recalibrate. Thought if she wrapped herself in old habits, in nostalgia and soft apologies, I'd lean in again, offer grace, a second chance, a chance to choose her again. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. He'd left the night she laughed about me to Josh's coworker. The night she called me the husband who hates people. Like I was just some quirky detail in her autobiography. Still, she kept trying. She brought up our first date over coffee one morning. "Remember that diner on 6th? You were so nervous you knocked over the creamer." I nodded. "You ordered the waffles with ice cream." "You remembered." Of course I did. I remembered everything. That was the problem. She left her wedding ring on the counter one evening. Just there, like a baited hook. Like she wanted me to ask why. I didn't. She picked it up the next morning, slid it back on without a word. I started writing again, but this time not in a notebook. I opened a new document and titled it Exit, Final. I listed everything I needed to confirm before pulling the trigger. Final proof of her ongoing contact with Josh, confirmation of dishonesty post-service, verification of manipulated behavior intended to affect legal response. Because in court, patterns matter. Intent matters. And so does the timing. I was close. Closer than she realized. Every smile she gave me, every late-night toast, every passive-aggressive suggestion that we should try counseling. I filed it away. Not because I cared what she felt, but because I needed to understand how she worked. One afternoon, she suggested we start fresh. "Let's do a reset," she said. "Like a clean slate. Forget all the heaviness." She offered to cook dinner for the 2 of us. Just us. Candlelight. Music. No phones. It almost felt real. Except nothing about her was real anymore. She was trying to rewrite the narrative. Paint over betrayal with domesticity. Rewrite our marriage into something she could control again. But I'd spent weeks learning her patterns. Learning how she moved, lied, covered. Now she was trying to crawl back into the role of the wife who just made a mistake. But it was too late. The structure was done. The accounts had been moved. The house was mine. The business had been separated. My assets were secure. I was simply waiting for the last thread to snap. She didn't notice the changes. Didn't ask why I didn't come to bed some nights. Didn't notice I'd moved important files out of the office. Didn't question why the family lawyer suddenly went on vacation. The same week her lawyer tried to respond. I knew her rhythm, and I knew she'd slip up again. Because this wasn't love. This was her trying to keep the ground beneath her from collapsing completely. She didn't come back because she missed me. She came back because she couldn't stand the idea of losing me on my terms. And people like her? They don't chase people. They chase power. That's what this all was. The dinners, the laughs, the playlists, the sudden interest in our memories. It wasn't redemption. It was self-preservation. She thought I'd let my guard down. She thought the music and candles would make me forget. But I remembered everything. Every whisper, every lie, every time she made a fool of me. So I watched.